Hey everybody. I wanted to do a quick review of this GitHub Copilot that everybody's talking about. I've been seeing some videos online and seen some videos where people don't even really have access yet and they're already kind of giving opinions. And luckily for the viewers here, I have access. I've been using it for a couple weeks now with my side project, my OS in the browser that I've been playing with. And I wanted to kind of show you guys my experience so far and how it's been and if I think it's going to replace us, that kind of thing. Let's just jump right into the part where I talk about what is it? What is this GitHub Copilot everybody's talking about? I mean, their site does a pretty decent job explaining it. Your AI pair programmer. The idea is it's kind of a little person sitting beside you giving suggestions, that kind of thing. And have I felt that so far? Perhaps, you know? It's been interesting. I'll show you guys some examples here in a minute. You can see some examples on their site where they do a comment of what they'd like to happen to kind of give the code a little suggestion, and then from there it kind of tries to figure it out a little bit based on GitHub code all over the world that it's grabbed from all over the internet, sorry, along with Stack Overflow, that kind of thing. Hopefully reputable sources, ideally. I think some of the concern is that it's not always that, but me as a programmer, I've been getting some value from it. Let's just jump right into it here. So you see here at the bottom, right here, kind of right there, I've got the Copilot icon. That's because I've installed their extension here, GitHub Copilot, your AI programmer. I'm on a preview here. It looks like me and another 228,000 or so people so far, and it's from GitHub, which is Microsoft now. And let's get right into showing you some parts about it too. So one thing that was cool is that these little show notes that I've got here, I've actually written some of them with Copilot because it gives suggestions. Let's see it give a suggestion right now. I'll do tab and do an entry. There we go. Can be used with any editor. Okay. Can be used with any programming language. Can be used with any text editor. And you see right now, this is just things it's suggesting. At a certain point, it gets repetitive. I mean, you don't want to use it to try to do your own notes for you most of the time. But it can be interesting, and we'll get into some of the more details about it. It does suggestions for lines. It can do suggestions for entire functions. It's powered by the OpenAI initiative. I think some GPT stuff might be in there as well. Trained on GitHub and Stack Overflow and such, like I was saying. It's got the extension. From what they were saying, it looks like it works best with Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, Ruby, Go. We're using JavaScript/TypeScript, so that's perfect for us, especially with TypeScript because you have this type definition. So you're kind of telling the code and the AI a little bit about what to expect. And then here's some key combinations we can do as we go, where you can have it give a next suggestion and more suggestions. You can do open and have it see a list of 10 suggestions, and you can just press tab to accept the suggestion and to move on. So one cool example I saw it was, let's say here in my code, I have this directory where I've kind of got these little entries that have attributes about apps, as I'm calling them. So let's say for the JS-DOS app, it supports auto resizing. Here's the background color. Here's the component. So typically I would just copy one of these and start changing things. But one thing I noticed it did with a recent one I did, I'd added this ruffle, I think. Let's add one right now and just call it the pilot. We'll call it as the name of the app. So I've got that first part there. Now I do a new line. Look at that. Right away it's like, hey, maybe you want the background color. Okay, sure. Let's see what the next suggestion is. You see here it does the component, and it even knew to put pilot here instead of in the import. And I didn't teach it any of this. It knew about the pilot icon that would be a lowercase one to kind of match how WebAmp is, and it'd be PNG. It knew title again would be uppercase, and then it decided to close it. So if I was just trying to see, okay, yeah, that's a good start, you know, then I can add a few things. Hey, in this case, it doesn't have a window. I can put that in here where it can suggest, you know, and also because I have TypeScript, we get the autocomplete. So that's another little additional piece of power. That's not Copilot, but between Copilot plus TypeScript suggestions, it can really do a lot for you. There you go. It decided false. I think Copilot was the one that suggested false there, just based on the fact that some of the others have been false, I guess, was its basis that if you're specifying it, maybe you want false. So that's an interesting example right there. There's no app called Pilot, but that's a cool example. Another one I noticed here, so let's say we're in a function. Let's say I was making a function here and I wanted to, let's say I want to deep clone an object, let's say. So let's say, hey, how do I deep clone? It even suggests stuff too. Dummy function to make TypeScript happy. Okay, let's try deep clone a process. Okay, I don't even know what that'll look like, so let's try it. So it autofills the comment in for us, and then we press enter. Okay, it's going to be called clone process. Okay, it wants to try to take that. Sure. And you can kind of, oh, there we go. So it's done something. Now, sometimes it ends up just copying essentially what was up here, perhaps. It looks like it's some kind of amalgamation of my code. If we see here, it takes a process ID and the current processes, and then it returns another function that takes the current processes and sets it. Minimize, maximize, false. This isn't really what I wanted, but it's interesting. So here's a case where you go, okay, this isn't the AI knowing, you know? I mean, I don't know what a deep clone of a process would look like necessarily, but I don't think it's this. Maybe it is, you know? Fair enough to it. Let's try to deep clone an object. An object. Okay, that's a typical task that people want to do. There's some libraries for doing that. So it's going to call itself clone. Okay, it's going to use JSON parse, JSON stringify. That's a valid solution. So this right here, if you pass it an object, it will return a new deep clone object of sorts based on this technique. So there's so many cool little things like that. What's another one we might want to do? I mean, as simple as add two numbers together. This can be useful too for people learning how to program. You know, how would I add two numbers together? I wonder. Let's see. Oh, okay, there's a function called add that takes an A and a B, and it just does A plus B. Simple enough. Okay, cool. And you can get more complicated, you know, how to find the square root of a number. Okay, no question mark. What is it? Oh, okay, so it has it has a comment to the Stack Overflow. We'll put that in there and let's see if it keeps suggesting stuff. Okay, no, it already got off track and it's making a function called getProcessID. Let's try to bring it back on track by naming the function. Find square root. And we'll just go equals and see if it gives us any autocomplete there. Okay, now there we go. So it says, okay, if you want to take n number, and then we'll use a function called math square root. So if you're just new to programming and you don't know about this, it's very possible this is a good suggestion. And let's even take a peek here at this link it gave us. Let's see if that, I mean, it's using that as a comment, but is prime function. This is talking about Python. So this isn't really a good solution. So you see it still misses the mark often enough, because it's suggesting a Python suggestion. I'm in a .ts TypeScript file. But once I helped it out here by naming the function, it was able to give me something interesting. So there's another cool example. So let's say for constants, let's say we just want to do a constant here. So milliseconds and seconds. Let's try to do another one. Let's say export const seconds in minute. Okay, cool. So if you didn't know how many seconds are in a minute, it shows you right there, 60. So this can even be used for just making constants, you know, if it can save you time. Let's say for styling, I'm not sure if it actually suggests for CSS. I don't think it does, to be honest. I don't think that's one of its languages. I mean, it's possible that, oh yeah, this is a Copilot suggestion. So when I said height, it wanted to do 100 VH. I mean, I already had that. Let's try to do something we don't already have. And oh, it's trying to do some kind of z-index suggestion. Interesting. So like, I don't need that, but that's a cool idea where it's done a z-index where it gets it from the theme, assuming there's something called z-indexes. I mean, it could be an idea. Hey, maybe I want to start doing z-indexes that way. So it's good for ideas too, I feel like, with Copilot. That's another interesting piece to it. So there's some cool examples I showed you guys. Let's try this piece here where we try to get more suggestions. Let's do that one for export const get square root equals. Okay, so does it have other suggestions? Let's do Control Enter. Here we go. So now it's going to synthesize 10 solutions for us. So one of them was math square root. Okay, that's to like do a rounded one. Here's another one where it's taking the keys of the process directory and then getting its length and square rooting that. That's interesting. I mean, you see it got creative. Here the solution was to rewrite the entire thing. I don't know what that solution was. Yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, it's kind of interesting, you know? I mean, I gave it something very random there, but you could start playing with this. And I've been noticing this as I've been coding, where when you get into these simple solutions, like I need a square root, I need a deep copy, or I mean, those are solved problems, but there's some other ones where you start doing the general stuff, or you're doing copying, and Copilot has helped out there, and in that way, it's been helpful. Do I feel like, that all being said, so you guys have seen a little bit of a demo of it. Do I feel like it's going to take our jobs? Not particularly, no. Maybe in the future it could, though. I mean, this is the first step. If this is on GPT-3 type data from OpenAI, or wherever the data is coming from, there's going to be a next iteration in it. It may be when we get to version 10 or something. Sure, why not? You know, we're not going to need someone to keep pressing tab, and saying if it's good. At the point where it's suggested, it could add it to the code, run it, see it. It could even give you results. Here's some suggestions. Here's what it'll look like. You know, this is only going to get more advanced. I mean, if you asked me to give you 10 variations on code, there's no way I could do that maybe in a couple minutes, perhaps. I don't know, depending on what the task is. But you're seeing it happen here in seconds. So it's only going to get more advanced, and I think one day I don't think it's ever necessarily going to take our jobs, as long as our jobs can still be about creativity. And that's a big part of programming that I enjoy. I think there's going to be some code monkeys out there that should watch out for this kind of thing. If you're just copying and pasting from Stack Overflow, well, this is kind of doing that for you a little bit. So down the road, I think you guys should watch out. But I think if you treat programming and software development as an art and a skill and a trade and a career, and you care about it, then this kind of thing can only help. And it's just adding to what you can do to make your apps. So that's my quick little review on it. Hopefully you guys liked it. And if you like my video, please throw me a like. If you're interested in my videos and the kind of stuff I'm doing, I do Saturdays at 9 p.m. Pacific. I do a stream every week, that kind of thing. So feel free to subscribe and check me out more often. So thank you guys for checking it out. Bye.